Hello class, welcome to StudyWave Academy, where education is without limits. Welcome to our grade 11 class, and the subject of discussion today is on civic education. So the main topic for this discussion, the main topic in this class will be on poverty and its effect. So we're going to be looking at what poverty is and what are the effects of poverty. So I believe that you have an idea of what poverty is. You know what the meaning of poverty is, and if you don't know, then today's class will be essential and it will be important to you, and it will enable you understand deeply what poverty is, what are the causes of poverty, and what are the effects of poverty. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What does it bring? How do people feel towards poverty? We're going to be looking at a lot of things under this topic, poverty and its effect. So first of all, I want to introduce you to what civic education is. We have to understand first what our subject is. Civic education. What is civic education? So if we're going to be learning this subject, what are we basically going to be looking at? So basically, civic education focuses on teaching students about their rights, responsibilities, and duties of citizenship within a society. It covers a range of topics related to government, politics, law, and the roles of individuals within their community. Civic education aims to foster an understanding of democratic principles, social justice, and the importance of active participation in civic and political life. Now, this is all about civic education, just mainly teaching you about your rights, your responsibilities as a citizen, citizenship itself, duties as a citizen, or as a citizen, okay? So this is what civic education is all about. And under this subject, or under this discipline, a discipline is also a subject, okay? So instead of saying you love a certain subject, you can say I love these types of disciplines, or this discipline. So discipline is another word for a subject, okay? So under this discipline, or the civic education, we're going to be looking at poverty and its effect. Now let's get into our discussion and talk about poverty. What is poverty? So every time you want to understand a certain concept, you have to start by analyzing each and every word in that concept, okay? So like right now, we are going to be discussing about poverty and its effects. It's very, very important and very, very essential that we understand what is this poverty first. So I can't just go in or start talking about effects of poverty when we don't even know what poverty is, okay? So I know most of us have an idea of what poverty is, but right now I'm going to be discussing what poverty is. So your idea might be right, you might be in the same path with me, okay, of understanding what poverty is, but right now let's look at what poverty is. Poverty is a condition in which an individual or a community lacks the financial resources and essential means to meet their basic needs for a standard quality of life. I'll repeat that again. Poverty is a condition in which an individual or a community lacks the financial resources and essential means to meet their basic needs for a standard quality of life. It's not just about the absence of money, but also the absence of resources that people need to survive and thrive. Now, this is what poverty is. Now, it's basically just a condition. So poverty is a condition. It's a condition or a state in which a person or even a community, so it can be a person or a community, where they lack financial resources and essential means to meet their basic needs. Now, when you talk about basic needs, I mean food, shelter, clothing. I know we can mention some of the basic needs we need as human beings. So the condition or the situation in which you lack this essential means to meet your basic needs or the financial resources is what we call poverty. So it's not just about lack of money. Like someone would say they don't have money so they are poor. No, it's not about lack of money, but it's about lack of money, but also in it we have absence of resources that are very, very essential for our survival and to thrive in life. So you lack food, you lack enough resources to get you food, to get you clothing, to get you a good shelter and such things. Okay, so poverty is that situation in which you find yourself in, or a community finds itself in, where they can't meet their basic needs, or they don't have the financial resources to meet their basic needs. So that is what poverty is. So it's a condition or a state in which an individual or a community lacks the financial resources and essential means to meet their basic needs. Okay, and I've talked about these basic needs. I've talked about food, I've talked about clothing, I've talked about shelter, and I believe there are several other basic needs that human beings or people or a community can lack, and that is what we call poverty. So after looking at what poverty is and what it entails, I will jump and look at aspects of poverty. Now, when you talk about poverty, what are these aspects of poverty? What does it entail? What is found in poverty? How are we supposed to understand poverty itself? Okay, so I'm going to look at aspects of poverty. And one, I've talked about lack of basic needs. So poverty involves the inability to afford necessities such as food, shelter, clean water, healthcare, education, and clothing. So you notice that some people, let me just show you something here very fast. Now, if you look at this word here, education, let me just ask you a question, class. Do you believe education is a basic need, or it's something you can do away with? So don't tell me your answer, but just think about it. So I want you to think about this question critically. So ask yourself, do I really need education? Can I survive without education? So basically a basic need is something that you can do away with. You can't go for days without food and survive. You can't go days without water. You know, water is a very, very important necessity. You can go days without water. Clothes, again, we need to cover our bodies. We need to feel warm. You can't stay in the cold and say you can survive without clothes. Okay, healthcare, again, you need healthcare. You will get sick, you will feel not well sometimes. You need this healthcare. But is education something you can do away with, or is something you, even if you don't have any education, you can still survive? So ask yourself that question: is education a basic need or not? Okay, so poverty is an aspect where you are unable to afford these necessities, these necessary things that we need to survive. Okay, so there's food, there's shelter, there's clean water, and there's clothing, education too. Okay, so let me get rid of my writing here. So poverty, one aspect is the lack of basic needs, and I've talked about that. The second aspect is income insufficiency. Often measured in monetary terms, poverty is characterized by lack of income to meet basic living expenses. Now, another aspect under poverty is income insufficiency. This means you don't have enough money to meet your needs, okay, to meet your basic needs. So you find that sometimes you are comfortable where you can get a little income to sustain you, then some other time you're just down, nothing, no money, nothing to even get you a piece of maybe a piece of cake, or just something to eat. Okay, so this is called income insufficiency. So when I talk about income insufficiency, I mean money. Okay, it's in terms of money. So income insufficiency is where you lack the income to meet your living expenses. So you are unstable. Once in a while you'll get some income to get yourself a meal, but sometimes, or most of the time, you just go without eating anything because you lack the income to meet your basic need. You have clothes, yes, but you lack the income to get you nice clothes or warm clothes in that matter. Okay, so the other aspect of poverty is income insufficiency. Then we have another aspect here. It's called a multi-dimensional aspect. Multi-dimensional aspect. Poverty can encompass various dimensions beyond economic deprivation, including social, educational, health, and opportunities for advancement. So when we talk about multidimensional aspects, poverty can include all these aspects or all these dimensions, just beyond the economic things we're talking about. Okay, so it can include social things, educational stuff, health issues, and even opportunities for advancement. So sometimes you find yourself, you are in a situation where you can't even afford to take care of your own health. You get sick, but you just pray that the almighty being or the God you believe in, you just pray that they will help you and just heal you. So you lack even the income to just take care of your health. Okay, you lack the income to get you to a high level of education, even to just get you to into any educational level. Okay, so you find that some of the people we know, they haven't gone to school, or they've gone to school and reached a certain level and just stopped. They didn't stop because they didn't know or they were not that good at performing well in school, but they left because you find they have an economical or financial, let me say financial problems or financial stability. Okay, so where they can't get enough income to sustain their educational journey, so they opt to drop out. So poverty can come up in these aspects. We can find it in even social stuff. When I talk about social stuff, I mean you can't get the income to live a life that you want to, a life where you are comfortable. You can eat 3 meals a day. Okay, you can have your own recreational time. When I talk about recreational time, I mean time to just have fun. Every time you're just thinking about how you're going to get your next meal, how you're going to get money and such stuff. So that is how poverty comes in different aspects. Okay, so just to get you a clear understanding on this, poverty can be relative or absolute. Okay, get these two terms. Poverty can be relative or absolute. Relative poverty compares one individual or group's economic status to others within a society, while absolute poverty refers to a specific internationally recognized standard of material well-being. Okay, so the two relative or absolute types of poverty are the different dimensions in which poverty can come in. Okay, so we have a relative poverty. Here you're trying to just compare an individual or a group's economic status within a society. Okay, so you have different people living in a society, so you're comparing like maybe their financial income, how they live, just their economic status. Are they well off? Do they struggle to sustain their living standard? Okay, so that is the relative poverty, where you compare an individual's or a group's economic status to others within the same society. Okay, so you find sometimes even in your country, you'll talk about the economic income of some celebrities, you know, or the economic income of maybe your neighbors or your certain relatives, and you compare to yourself or you compare to others. So you say maybe this auntie of mine is rich than this other auntie of mine. Okay, so that is called relative poverty. Then we have the absolute poverty, where you refer to a specific internationally recognized standard of material well-being, below which individuals are living in extreme poverty. Okay, so maybe you find an individual and just maybe a certain group of people or a certain person that you know. Okay, and you just recognize that this person, you cannot afford to even get food. So this is just extreme poverty. Even the living standards or the house in which they live in, it's in a very, very poor condition. So that is what we call absolute poverty. So just to get you a good understanding, or to just make sure that you've understood, remember the meaning of poverty. It's a condition or a state in which you cannot meet your financial needs or your basic needs. Okay, and I've talked about these basic needs being food, shelter, clothing, and such stuff. And I asked you a simple question where I wanted you to think critically. So you tell me, education, is education a basic need? Can you do without education? Can you survive without education? Or is it something you really desire? You can't go without it, you can't do without it, you can't survive without education. So that's the question I want you to answer me, and just think about it critically.